October 7th, the morning of Simchat Torah. Sasha and Sapir were woken up by the sounds of sirens. While they were staying at kibbutz near Oz, armed terrorists stormed their home. Sasha and Sapir were violently separated and taken into Gaza. That same day, Sasha's mother and grandmother were also kidnapped. His father was brutally murdered. In that darkness, something began to grow. Strength, belief, faith.
In Israel's war with Hamas tonight, 12 more hostages released by Hamas in Gaza, now back in Israel.
After 55 long days in captivity, Sapir was released. But she didn't stop there. She became Sasha's voice, traveling the world, meeting leaders and communities, sharing their story and fighting for his release. Sasha's mother often speaks of their family history. Her grandmother had also been taken hostage by the Nazis in Belarus, but she escaped. She fought back as a partisan. She survived. "498 days later, Sasha came home. Against all odds, he returned. A miracle, the fourth generation to survive the darkest of places and emerge with light." Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor true heroes of our nation. Please join me in welcoming Sasha Troufanov and Sapir Cohen.
Welcome. Bruchim Habayim. We are so honored to have you here. Our sages tell us, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lazeh. All of the Jewish nation are responsible for each other. Our heart beats as one. This has been felt even more since October 7th. On that day, our hearts broke as one as we mourned the brutal attacks, the kidnappings, and the horrific losses of soldiers and civilians since that day. Our hearts beat as one as we prayed, gave our financial support, and made resolutions to do another mitzvah, to bring more light into the world, in the merit of the hostages and all of our brothers and sisters in Israel. And finally, our hearts beat as one as we rejoiced in Israel's incredible accomplishments, beating back her enemies, securing her borders, and bringing her children home. We all cried and celebrated as we witnessed the miracles of your return. Vishavu vanim ligvulam. The children of Israel have returned home. We are all so incredibly honored to be here with you today, to thank you, to hug you, to support you, and most importantly, to hear your incredible story. Sasha and Sapir, I want you to know there are many communities and synagogues represented here this evening. And I'd like to mention them by name. We welcome the communities of Chabad of Northridge, Chabad of Granada Hills, Chabad of Season, Chabad of Chatsworth, Chabad of West Hills, and Young Israel of Northridge. We thank each of these special communities and your incredible leadership for being part of tonight's event. We know that many around the world have failed the Jewish people, and they failed their own moral values in how they treated Israel and the Jewish people these past 2 years. A light in that darkness is right here in our community, as our dear friend, Los Angeles Councilman John Lee, has been a strong and sometimes lone voice in support of Israel and the Jewish people. Councilman Lee could not be here this evening, and his senior advisor, Mr. Ron Rubin, is here to share a presentation on his behalf from the city of Los Angeles. Ron, please.
I was just settling in for the presentation. It's an honor to meet you both. My name is Ron Rubin. I'm the senior advisor to Councilmember John Lee, who represents the Northwest San Fernando Valley. John has been a long supporter, ardent supporter of the interfaith community, specifically the Jewish community. Mission Hills is not in our council district, but our commitment and love for the interfaith community and the Jewish community, and me as his synagogue liaison, extend obviously beyond council district boundaries. This is, in comparison to what you endured and what you represent symbolically and literally and spiritually for everybody, not just the Jewish community, this is really just a small token of our esteem, but John wanted to be here. He couldn't, so are we taking pictures, Rabbi? All right. Why don't you stand up real quick? So on behalf of a grateful city of Los Angeles, the most diverse city in the world, one that I'm incredibly proud to call home and being a native of, Sasha and Sapir, I can read it real quick and that'll be it. The city of Los Angeles and the 12th Council District present to you this certificate in recognition of your bravery and commitment to sharing your story, your unwavering devotion to your fellow hostages, which ultimately helped secure their eventual release, is commendable. On behalf of the city of LA and the 12th Council District, we commend you on your bravery, strength, and wish you continued success in sharing your story. So thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Yes, the divine miracles of the hostages' freedom and the accomplishments of Israel these past 2.5 years is thanks to the incredible bravery and sacrifice of Hashem's messengers in this world, Chayalei Tzahal, the holy soldiers of the IDF, who put themselves in danger every day to defend our homeland and our people. We invite Rabbi Avi Rabin, co-director of Chabad of West Hills, to read the prayer for the IDF in Hebrew, followed by Rabbi Mendel Rappaport, co-director of Seating of Northridge, to read the prayer in English. Please rise and join along on the screens for the prayer.
Misheberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, hu yivarech et chayalei tzva ha'agana liYisrael, ha'omdim al mishmar artzenu, v'arei Eloheinu, migvul ha'levanon, v'ad bidmar Mitzrayim, umin hayam hagadol ad levo ha'arava, bayabasha ba'avir ubayam. Yiten Adonai yetovenu hakamim aleinu nigafim lifnehem. Hakadosh Baruch Hu yishmor v'yatzil et chayaleinu, mikol tzara v'tzukah, ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם, ויעטרם בחסד ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון, ויקוים בהם מה כתוב. כי אדוני אלוהיכם, ההולך עמכם, להילחם לכם עם אויביכם, להושיע אתכם ונאמר Amen. Before you steal the mic from me, I'm a rabbi, I've got to say a few words. I just want to wish you guys a big mazal tov and tell you how honored I am, really. I have goosebumps seeing you guys. May you have a life of happiness and health. And thank you for being here with us tonight. Oni mazal and bracha. Amen.
May he who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. May he bless the fighters of the Israel Defense Force who stand guard over our land and the cities of our God, from the border of the Lebanon to the desert of Egypt, and from the great sea unto the approach of the Arava, on the land, in the air, and on the sea. May Hashem cause the enemies who rise up against us to be struck down before them. May the Holy One, blessed be He, preserve and rescue our fighting men from every trouble and distress, and from every plague and illness, and may He send blessing and success in their every endeavor. May He lead our enemies under their sway, and may He grant them salvation and crown them with victory. And may there be fulfilled for them the verse, for it is Hashem your God who goes with you to battle, your enemies for you to save you. Now let us respond. Amen.
Finally, our hearts are filled with prayer to Hashem for the safety, security, and strength of our people in Israel and all around the world as they continue to struggle against evil and fight for freedom. We will now recite a prayer, Psalm 121, Tehillim, for the safety of our brothers and sisters and all good people all around the world. We invite Rabbi Yossi Spritzer, co-director of Chabad of Chatsworth, to lead us in this prayer. Please remain standing and join along on the screens.
Everybody please join along. Shir Lama'alot, Esa Einai El Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Ezri Me'im Adonai, Osei Shamayim Va'aretz, Al Yitain Lamot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomrecha, Hine Lo Yanum Velo Yishan Shomer Yisrael, Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach ba'leila. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra. Yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzetcha uveyacha me'ata v'yad olam. Join me together now in English as well. A song of ascents. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. From where shall my help come? My help comes from God who made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he that keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your keeper. God is your shade upon your right hand. The sun shall not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. God will keep you from all evil. He will keep your soul. God will guard your going out and your coming in, from this time forth and forever.
You may be seated. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. We have the honor to again welcome to our communities and to hear from Sasha and Sapir. The presentation will be conducted in interview form, and we invite the interviewers, Rabbi Meir Rifkin, co-director of Chabad of Granada Hills, and my wife, Mrs. Tzipi Rifkin, co-director of Chabad of Northridge, to join us on the stage. Following the interview, which will take Sasha and Sapir through their incredible story, they will be answering several audience questions. If you have a question, please text it to the number on the screen. We're not going to take direct questions. You can text it to the number on the screen, and then we can choose 3 or 4 questions that they will answer from the audience. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me again as we welcome Sapir Cohen and Sasha Troufanov.
All right. Welcome. We're so excited to meet you and to be with you. Sapir, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who were you before October 7th, and what happened on that terrible day?
Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here and to meet you. So before the October 7, I didn't feel a part of our nation. I didn't watch the news. I didn't know what the situation in Israel. And unfortunately, I didn't really care. I just focused in my life. I live my life in a bubble, and I didn't look outside. I was focused in myself and in the people that close to me. I did a degree. I finished a degree in software engineer. Then I found a work, and then I decided that this is the time to build my own family. So I decided to download all the dating apps, and in one of them I met this boy. On October 6th, on Friday, we decided to go to the kibbutz to celebrate Simchat Torah with his parents. They live in a kibbutz Nir Oz in South Israel. I remember from that day that Sasha told me that he didn't want to go there. And I was very surprised because all the time he told me, Sapir, if I say to my parents that I come, I never cancel. I don't want to hurt my mother. But in that weekend, Sasha told me, Sapir, I don't want to go there. I don't know why, you can cancel it. But if to be honest, our relationship before the October 7 wasn't so good, and I didn't want to be with him all the weekend alone in the apartment. I'm sorry. I convinced him to go to the kibbutz. We arrived to the kibbutz on October 6th, on Friday, and I remember that on Friday night we sat with his friends and we watched a movie about kidnap and murder, and no one of us felt or thought that a day after we will experience that, even in the worst way. On October 7, on Saturday, I woke up at 6 in the morning because I heard the rockets. It was very, very strong, like a rain of rockets. And at first, I didn't know what happened. After that, I heard Tseva Adom is the alarms. I'm from North Israel, so I don't used to this situation. I asked Sasha what we're supposed to do because we were in a guest room, very small room with no shelter. I wanted to run to his parents' house to enter to the shelter, but Sasha told me, no, we can't. We have to wait for a silence between the rockets, and after that we can run. So we waited, but he doesn't come. We decided to lie down near the wall. We felt that it's more safe, and this is what we did, like an hour of rockets. We couldn't find even 20 seconds of silence to run to his parents' house to enter to the shelter. I remember that after an hour of rockets, we got a message from his mother. And after the message, he opened an article in his phone, and I saw the title, "The terrorists are slaughtering us and the army doesn't come." It was from Kibbutz Be'eri. It's 10 minutes from us. I was very scared. I didn't know what the meaning of terrorists came inside, what happened, how terrorists kill people inside Israel. I thought that maybe it's happened in one specific kibbutz and the army on the way. But after a few minutes, we got another message. I remember that Sasha looked at his phone and he turned it around. He didn't show me. So I understood what happened, but I didn't want to believe. I asked him, Sasha, tell me what the message. And he told me, no matter what, just be quiet. We decided to hide under the bed because there is no place to hide in this room. I remember that I took a blanket, I just put it over myself. I didn't want to see anything. And this is what we did. We hid under the bed. And then I heard Allahu Akbar. I heard Allahu Akbar screams. I heard like hundreds terrorists came inside the kibbutz and they shooting everywhere. It's heard like they go home by home and shooting everyone, everywhere. And we can't do nothing. We just wait to our turn. In that moment, I was terrified. I was shaking. All my body was water. And I started to pray. I remembered one prayer. You know, before the October 7, few months before that, I had anxieties. It's something that I never felt before. I felt that something very bad will happen to me. I didn't know why, because I had normal life. I thought that maybe I have an illness in my body. I decided to go to doctors. I did many tests. One of them even told me that he found something, he found a virus. But he told me, don't worry, everything will be okay. And I told him, no, I know that something bad will happen to me. I felt that I'm standing in front of a very bad situation that just God can keep me. And I decided to pray for the first time in my life, but I didn't know what I was supposed to say. I asked few religious people in my work, but nobody told me what I need to say. And one day I saw advertising. It was a chapter in Tehillim, and they wrote there that if you read it for 30 days, you will be healthy, miracles will happen to you. Well, I decided to say this prayer every day, and after a few days, I remember that. It's very surprised me because I never remember things. All my life, I used to cheat in the history exams. And now I remember a very long chapter with complicated words, like I ask myself, why? I decided to notice to the words that I'm saying, not just keep saying that. And then I realized that the chapter is not related to medicine. It's related to war, and God saved me from the enemies. And I asked myself from which kind of war I praying to be saved. When I was under the bed, I just say this chapter again and again and again. I was very surprised that I don't have blackout in this situation. And I felt like deep inside of me, I felt a little bit peace. Even when I heard the terrorists outside, they came very close to our door. I remember that me and Sasha, we had an argument. He told me, the army come, the army outside. And I told him, no, it's not what I'm here Arabic. And then they tried to break the door, and I heard a high level of noise, but they couldn't. After a few minutes, they go away, and I was a little bit happy, but I knew that it's not over yet. After that, another group came, more professional maybe, and they showed the lock. They came inside very quickly. I heard them just took everything in the house. They broke everything. And finally, I saw in front of my eyes maybe 10 terrorists. The October 7 was the last day that I supposed to say my prayer. It was the day number 30. But I say this prayer like every day with every new group of terrorists in every new location. And until today, I can't go to sleep without saying that. This is my story from the October 7.
Wow. Wow. Well, Sasha, we want to ask you as well, what do you remember from that day, from October 7th, specifically the abduction, when you were abducted?
So, if you will allow me, if you will allow me, I would like to start from the beginning. I was born in Russia, and me and my parents moved to Israel when I was 3.5 years old. I don't remember anything from Russia, to be honest. My first memory is from Israel. I remember arriving to the kibbutz in this van. They took us from the airport. The door is opened, and I see this beautiful place, so much green grass around, trees, small houses in between. And this is actually the first memory of my life. I then grew up in this kibbutz. Almost all my life I was educated there. I knew all the people. They were like my family because I was an only child. They was like my extended family. And eventually I went to the army. I served as in intelligence force, actually in Gaza, which is surreal. And then I went to learn electrical engineering in the university and found a job in Amazon. And I thought to myself, well, now I start my life as an adult. I have a stable job. I have a girlfriend. It seems everything to work out. But unfortunately, it didn't. And we get to October 7. I remember that at that day, Sapir waking me up very early in the morning, stressed out. I'm asking her, what is going on? Why you wake me up? So she's told me, you're hearing the rockets, you're hearing the sirens. So I'm telling her, you know what, don't worry. It happens from time to time here in the south. Unfortunately, it's not the first time. And I told her, we just need to wait a minute or two, it will stop, and then we can go to my parents' house, which wasn't so far away, and be in the safe room and find shelter. But unfortunately, it didn't stop. It kept going and going without any brief moment of relief. And I remember that the more it prolonged, I started to understand that something is wrong. It never happened this way. And I started text messaging with my friends, with my mother. And one of my friends, he served in the quick reaction force of the kibbutz. It's the force that is responsible of guarding the kibbutz in situation of the security situations. But he wasn't present that day in the kibbutz, and he still received all the correspondence on WhatsApp. And I remember that he was updating me what is happening around, and he started sending me messages of terrorist infiltration into kibbutzim nearby, until eventually he told me, and this is the message that I didn't want you to see, that the terrorists are inside the kibbutz, and I need to find shelter. And I find myself in a very small room with Sapir, no safe room at all, no way to protect myself, knowing that there are terrorists in the kibbutz. And we are starting to hear this shooting around us, and me and Sapir are arguing between us, what is going on? I'm telling her, don't worry, it's the army. She's telling me, no, it's the terrorist. I can hear it. I can hear Arabic. And eventually, my mother sent me a text message saying that the terrorist went by near her house and asking, how are we? And I told her, we are fine for now. But not long after, we started hearing the terrorists trying to break the door open, as Sapir described. And in that moment, to be honest, I felt so scared. I didn't know what to do. I felt, in a sense, that I have a responsibility to protect Sapir as well as myself, but I have no way of doing it. And I just felt that death is standing in front of the door trying to break it open. And what is, the barrier between us and death is just a very weak door. Eventually, they managed to break it open and got inside. Sapir at that point was covered with blankets, so she couldn't see, but I remember watching from underneath the bed in the corner of the room. I watched the entrance and I see this boot and these long pants, army pants, coming inside the room. I couldn't see if the terrorist is armed or not, but I understand that first of all it's a terrorist because the uniform weren't as IDF uniform, they were much different. And the second thing is that because of the way he was wearing, I thought to myself, he must be armed, and it was such a small room, and I remember him walking slowly towards the bed, towards us, and I'm just feeling like every second he will just shoot us and that's it, it's over, we're dead. And when he approached the bed, he tried to flip it, and my instinct was just to stand in front of him with my hands up. And I see him suddenly, he was surprised as well. He just takes his gun and points it at me. I remember that at that point, the only thing I felt is that I feel that there is just moments before I'm being pierced with bullets. This is it. And I'm just standing there in shock, and he's pointing a gun at me. And I understand that he's not shooting, so I'm starting to tell him, we're civilians, leave us alone, we are civilians. And then he starts shouting things in Arabic at me, very rigorously angry. And he calling a bunch of other terrorists that were waiting outside. Now 10 terrorists coming into the room, and I understand that the situation becoming more and more tense. And I started to notice that some of them are starting to go towards Sapir and try to untangle her from the blankets she was wrapped with. And for some reason, it was very bothering me. I was very fearful to what they will do to her, because not long before we were sleeping, she was wearing a very small pajama, and I really don't want them to see her this way. I didn't know what will happen if they will see her this way. So for some reason, I decided to start shouting at them that to give her clothes, give her something to wear, give her clothes. And probably one of the terrorists partially understood what I said, because he just takes a pair of jeans that were near him and throws them at me, told me to wear them in Arabic, which is very close to Hebrew. So I do. They told me to get down on my knees with their weapons. And while I'm on my knees trying to encourage them to give something for Sapir to wear, one of the terrorists comes from the group, approaches me smiling, and just punched me directly to the face. To be honest, at that point, I didn't care much about the punch. I cared more about the intensity in the room. It became more and more extreme. They become more and more agitated. And I felt that if I'm not doing anything to get out of this room right now, we will just be killed in this place. So I decided, without any other option, to just stand up. They immediately grabbed me and pulled me towards the outside. While I was led by them to the entrance to the room, one of the terrorists from the back decided to stab me. I remember that I suddenly feel this very sharp, strong pain in my left shoulder. I look around and I see a terrorist holding a kitchen knife. And I remember until now his face with so much anger and hate, just trying to stab me more times. And the other terrorists that surround him actually stopping him from doing that because they wanted me alive. They take me down on my knees outside of the room, and before they take my head to the ground so I couldn't see anymore what is happening around me, I remember Sapir getting out of this room just after me, being led by 3 or 4 other terrorists. And just before I get my head into the ground, I see somebody comes, not from this group, and grabs her toward the right side, and that's it. I don't see anything anymore. The terrorists grabbed me, pulled me up, and still holding my head down so I can't see what is happening around me, but I'm being led towards a motorcycle that was waiting for me 50 meters ahead. I remember that this 50-meter walk was so long. I remember that the blood was rushing through my vein. I just tried to figure out what to do, try to have some sort of strategy, something to come up with to evade the situation, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't think straight. I just was so stressed out and panicked and scared. And when I was standing there in front of the bike, there was a brief moment that the terrorist was discussing between themselves what to do. And I'm just, in this brief moment, looking at this bike and I'm saying, if you're getting on this bike, it's like you are dead anyway. You are better do something to try and evade the situation, because if you're getting on it, you're dead. And I don't know how I found the guts to do it, but I decided to shake myself from the terrorists. I just pushed them around me. There were like 6 of them, but I was much bigger then. And I just pushed them and started running. And I immediately, when I lift my head up and started seeing where I'm running and seeing what's happening around me, I was so upset to know that I was so wrong. I thought that the terrorists that kidnapped me, they are the only terrorists in the kibbutz, but it wasn't the case. There were hundreds of them at that moment, and I saw tens of them in front of my eyes while I was running. Some of them were burning trees, burning houses, destroying porches. Some of them were interacting with me while I was running, shouting at me, throwing things at me, and some of them even were shooting at me. I managed to run maybe 200 meters before I got stopped by 2 armed terrorists in front of me. I understood that I'm cornered. I raised my hands up, turned toward the group that was chasing me, the same group that I shook myself from. They reached me, and from a very close distance, roughly between me and the end of the stage, one of them just shouted something in Arabic. He seemed very angry and upset that I even tried to do something. And then I remembered the shots of the rifle going off. First, the shots were hitting near my legs in the concrete, but eventually one of the bullets pierced my right leg. I remember looking at my pants, feeling this sharp pain, and I see the hole in my trousers, in the jeans pants that I had. But I felt that the bullet missed my bone. It just pierced my muscle and my flesh, and I felt, in a sense, a little bit lucky. I said to myself, wow, you can still stand it. It's not so painful. I said to myself, well, they missed me. What a blessing. But then I remember getting the bullet in my left leg, and it just hit the bone and pierced it and broke it completely. I remember standing, feeling the most heaviest pain I ever felt, and I broke some bones, but not to that degree. It just broke completely. And because I was standing, the bone couldn't hold the weight anymore, so it just made this clicking sound, and I fall to the ground. I remember that one of the terrorists from the back with the weapons struck me with his rifle in the back of my head. I lose consciousness for maybe a second or two, and when I regain consciousness and start looking around and understand what is happening, I see the terrorists debating and fighting with each other what to do. I believe that in this moment they were trying to understand if to kill me and just get over with, or take me alive. And I'm so happy that the group that wanted to take me alive won. Some of them approached me, took me from my shoulders and from my legs. They put me on a motorcycle between 2 other terrorists, covered my head, but I could see through this cover. I remember that on the way through the kibbutz on the motorcycle, I was crossing the kibbutz and I was looking around and I saw my kibbutz being destroyed in front of my eyes, houses being burned down, smoke coming out from places that unfortunately the people that were living there are not alive anymore. I remember the terrorists running around the streets instead of the people of the kibbutz. I just remember my kibbutz being conquered by those terrorists. And when we exited the kibbutz and started driving towards Gaza, eventually we reached a patch of sand. We fell from the bike. The terrorists managed to stand, but I couldn't because of my leg, and I just fell to the ground. The bike collapsed on me. And I was so much blood, and I was so in pain, so I wasn't in the best consciousness, but I remember the sounds. People started gathering around me. The civilians that were celebrating near the fence were starting to curse me, and more of them started to notice that I'm there. And then I remember a swarm of kicks and punches all over my body. And I remember telling myself, well, if you survive the shootings and the kidnapping, this is the moment you're going to die. And I really remember saying to myself, well, at least you are not in so much pain because everything that I've been through and the adrenaline, the kicks and punches wasn't so bad. I remember that saying, at least I'm dying without the pain and the fear. I'm already, in a sense, surrendered. But after a while that I getting those kicks and punches, the terrorists grabbed me from this crowd, pulled me towards a vehicle that was waiting there, throw me in the back seat, two of them with me, one of them sitting on my face, the other one on my legs. I remember pulling my leg from underneath him with my other leg because my arms were tied up, and we started driving towards Gaza.
Wow.
Whoa. Sapir, so now you're separated from Sasha. What happened with you? And what did you see on the way to Gaza? We know eventually you were taken as well. And when you were taken, did you realize at that moment that other people were also kidnapped, or did you think it was just you?
I remember that they took me out of the room and they put me on a bike with two terrorists, one in front and one behind. And then we started the way to Gaza. I didn't know what happened to Sasha in that moment. From this moment, I didn't see him. I remember that in the middle of the way to Gaza, the terrorist behind me, he wanted to stop driving, so we stopped. And then he called me, he wanted to take me from the bike. So I look around myself, I wanted to see to where. And I saw that I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't understand why he wanted to take me there. I was very scared because he was the one with the gun. And I didn't know what to do. Maybe it was instinct. I just decided to hug the terrorist in front of me, that he was the older one. I wanted to give him a sense of responsibility. He could be my father. And I hold him, I hugged him, and I say, I'm a kid. And then he told me, I know, shut up. But then he looked to the other terrorist and he said, Khalas, no. He decided to continue on the way to Gaza. I remember that after this point, I said, thank for God that I'm continuing my way to Gaza. When I came inside Gaza, I saw maybe thousands of civilians. All the street was full of civilians, and they are all encourage the terrorists, and they make celebration. The terrorists felt like heroes and screams in all the street. I was looking around myself and I was in shock. I couldn't believe that I'm alive, that something like that can be real. I just remember that I look about all these people. I saw many cameras. I look to all these cameras because I wanted that maybe my parents will see that I'm an hostage. But when I look at them, all the citizens came to beat me. I think that in this point, the terrorists decided to take me alive, so they just hold each other and my head was between. And they tried to keep me from the citizens until I came to the first house. All this way, I thought that maybe I'm the only hostage. I didn't know what happened in the kibbutz. I saw what happened, but I didn't remember. I was like, everything deleted from my head. I couldn't see bodies, I couldn't see fire. I didn't remember nothing from the kibbutz. And just when I came to the first house, I realized that I'm not the only hostage.
What was going through your mind? So you realize you're not the only hostage, and then you're a captive. And what's going through your mind the whole time through the captivity? And what helped you like cope and navigate these immense challenges? Like, how do you even deal with this when you're a hostage?
I remember the first days in the captivity. I said, God, why you did it to me? Like, why it's happened to me? I had many thoughts in my mind. I thought, why I convinced Sasha to go to the kibbutz. He didn't want to go there, why I did it. And maybe if I would run to a different place, if I would hide in different place, it wouldn't happen to me. Maybe if I would run to the pool and die under. And if. And I remember that all these thoughts, it's like explode my mind. And then I say to myself that I have to think in a different way. I believe person. I always, all my life, I believed in God, even that I never prayed before. And I remind to myself that in my world there is no luck. There is no good luck and not bad luck. And if God decided to send me to this place, it's because that I'm supposed to be there. And the question is why. I thought a lot about this question. I remember that in that point I was with two other hostages. One man, 35 years old. He just lie down all the day and close his eyes. And I told him, Eitan, open your eyes. And he told me, Sapir, I can't. I can't see my new reality. I don't want to open my eyes. I just want to sleep all the day. And the other one was a young girl, maybe 16 years old. When I met her, I saw her, she was crying and she was shaking. And she told me that she saw the terrorists take her father and her little brother, maybe 7 years old. She wasn't sure they are still alive. When I met these hostages, I remember the time when I was under the bed, when I was sure that this is the last time of my life. And in this time, I had many memories from my life. Many memories about things that I regret. I was very sorry, especially about one thing. I was very sorry that I didn't do something important, something meaningful in my life. And I'm saying, God, please give me last chance to do something like that. When I met the hostages, I remember that I say to myself, maybe God sent me to the worst place, to the darkness. But also he sent me to a place that I can be the most meaningful person in the world if this is what I choose. I decided that I have a mission in this place. And from the moment that I decided to take this responsibility, I felt like a different person. All my anxieties, like I didn't have anxieties anymore. I could take very bad moments and make it to funny moments. I remember that one day one of the terrorists came to us and he said, now I need to take you to the tunnels. And this girl, she came to me and she said, Sapir, no way, I don't want to go there, I'm too scared. I didn't know what to say, so I told her, you know, we are in Gaza, and we have to see the #1 attraction here is the tunnels. So she told me, okay. So we went to the tunnels, and it's a dark place, but she looked at me all this time. So I'm saying, wow, it's so wonderful here. And the terrorists look at me and they say, why are you so happy? I told him, because I'm visiting Gaza. So she says, Sapir, you have to stop, you are too crazy. And then we came inside, and it's a very dark place, and everything wet, all the floor wet, all the walls, the mattress are very moldy. There are many lice and many bed bugs. And the food, sometimes it's like few food. I wasn't sure if one day I will come back to Israel. I wasn't sure if I will stay alive. But I remember that my biggest change was when I stopped to count my time. At first I count the hours, I count the days. And during the time I just stopped that. I decided that I don't live my life to count the time until the end. And finally, I was very grateful that God gave me the last chance that I wanted. And I decided that it's no matter how much time I have in this world, I just want to do my best. And I think that this thing helped me during the captivity.
Wow, Sapir. That shift in the middle there, that's amazing. Sasha, you're not with Sapir at this point. None of us can imagine what you and the other hostages endured at all. Can you help us understand from your perspective what it was like in Gaza from your eyes?
So I will try to do my best, but there is one thing you need to understand, that never mind how much I will share with you, it's like watching a movie. You will never feel as the character in the movie. And for that reason, sometimes it's very hard to share the experience because it's so brutal and hard and harsh. Nothing compares to what we've been through in a sense. So unfortunately, or fortunately for you, I cannot give you examples from day-to-day life. I remember that I was driving to Gaza in this vehicle, surrounded by the terrorists, and you know, at that moment I felt like, that's it, my life is destroyed, it's ruined, there is no way back, and I don't know how much time I'm gonna spend there, but I still wanted to believe that I'm somehow going to survive. And I wanted to believe that they will take care of me, they will take me to an hospital or something. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. We drove until we reached an apartment. They just take me out of the car, pulled me towards an apartment. And I remember that when I was passing through the living room, I looked through the cover in my face, as you remember, I can see through, and I see a full family. I see men, kids, women. I don't know, they were excited in a sense. That seems like a small celebration going on in the house. I went and they put me into a room and closed the door. Somebody knocks on the door and they open, and he comes inside. He looks at me confused, not knowing what to do. The tourist talking to him, and from what I understood from the body language of them, it seems like they are trying to tell him, like, take care of him, and he seems to say, I don't know how. And they said, do it anyway. So he started bandaging my leg and my shoulder and my head and other wounds that I had. And when he reached my left leg, he started looking at it, and I see it's bending. And eventually what he did is to take a broomstick, break it into two, and wrap it around my leg with a bandage. And this was it for now. They made a small interrogation in those conditions, and I understood that they don't know anything about me. And I decided that for my safety, it's better to downgrade me. And I started saying that, you know, I lied about my profession, I lied about my occupation in the army, I lied about Sapir being pregnant and we are married, which wasn't true. And it's still not true, hopefully soon. And after this interrogation, they moved me to another place. I remember older man, maybe 50 years old, was waiting there for me. He looked at my legs and my bandages and decided to take off this broomstick thing, and he brought like a piece of metal, cut it into shape, and wrap it around with elastic bandage, and that was it. I was spending a week like that, every single day, thinking to myself, this is the day they're gonna kill me. They made a video of me once, and I thought to myself, well, now they have a proof that I'm alive, so probably I'm not worth much anymore, too hard to take care of. You need to understand that in captivity, the conditions are that you are, in a sense, imprisoned by people who don't want to take care of you, no sympathy. They don't like you being there. They're just happy they got you, but they don't want any resistance. They want you to be obedient. They don't want you to cause trouble. And of course, they don't want to take you to the bathroom, and I unfortunately couldn't do it by myself. So everything you start doing is calculated. I was calculating my bathroom breaks. I didn't go to the bathroom for days just because I didn't want to irritate nobody. I remember the food at the beginning, the first week, I was getting a little bit more than I would get the rest of my time, but still I tried to minimize it in order to not go to the bathroom. I remember that the situation is so hard to accept. You feel like your just whole life is finished, it's over, and you hope to just get released. After a week of in those conditions, they moved me to an hospital. And at that point, I had a sense of, well, maybe something good is happening. I remember that I get to an hospital full of civilians. They dressed me up, they put me on a wheelchair, and they take my head down through the hospital until I reach a very quiet space. 2 guards at the entrance to make sure nobody is entering. And I'm entering this X-ray footage room, and I see this older person that put this metal thing on my leg. He turns out to be a doctor working in the hospital. He takes the shots, and I see that the leg is completely broken, but still he decided to take me to a small storage place in the hospital itself, and there comes a nurse. And when the nurse came inside, he looked at me in a different way than the terrorist looked at me. The terrorists seemed to be happy in a sense of accomplishment, some sort of pride, they got me. But he didn't feel this way. He felt disgust and undesire to take care of me at all. I remember that he's looking at me disrespectfully, just taking my leg, putting it on 2 cardboard boxes, unwrapping all the things that were holding it together, and bringing cast material and doing it the way it is. He tried pulling it and trying to arrange it, but it didn't work out. As you see, I did a surgery to fix it after I came out. After this hospital trip, they moved me to an apartment. And in this place, I told myself, well, maybe now I can relax a little bit and wait for my release. But unfortunately, things got worse and worse. The war became more and more intense. I was in Khan Yunis, and they started eventually going to Khan Yunis as well. My conditions became worse and worse to the degree that I was eating 1 meal a day that was only 1 can of food shared by me and 2 other terrorists, and that's it. I remember that the conditions got so much worse as the army progressed, and eventually they also reached the place that I war at. They didn't know it at the time, but I started hearing the soldiers, I started hearing the tanks, and there is nothing you can do. And for 40 days, I was just moving from place to place with the terrorists themselves, eating only dates sometimes, of course no showers, not knowing if I will see another day. Eventually we got out of there and we moved to Rafiah. I remember when I was crossing Rafah on the motorcycle, I looked around and I see so many stores and shops and food, and I was so hungry, I was so weak. And I told myself, well, maybe now something will change, something will get better, maybe I will get a decent amount of food. But unfortunately, I found myself being led to a room. There was a small wooden cage, 2 meters and 1 meter, enough for me to lay down, and that's it. And I was there for another month and a half or 2 before I was moved again to complete isolation in a room that I had this bucket. I will do all my toilet and stuff in it because I was not allowed to get even to the toilet during the day, and only at night they will give me 3 minutes or 5 to evacuate this bucket and wash it and go back to my room. And after all of that, and after I thought to myself, well, it couldn't get worse. And remember it in June 24, they made the rescue mission of Mivtza Arnon, and 4 hostages were released, and luckily, but I didn't know that they told me that all the hostages are dead. They killed a lot of soldiers, and in 2 days I'm gonna go to Edano, and this is what happened. One day they came, covered my eyes, and took me to a place, a house. I got led by them to a specific room. They sat me on the floor and covered me, and I see this shaft, this hole in the ground, very small compared to me. And they light it up with the torches, and I see it's pretty deep, but very, very small and tight. And I told myself, how can I get inside? So I said, the terrorist, like, to get inside, and he says, get inside. So I said, but it's too small for me. He said, no, get inside. So I did. And I remember that it was very, very small. It was the width of me, approximately. The height was this height, very, very low, but it was surprisingly long. I walked inside maybe a mile. I remember walking and walking and walking, and it was much longer than that. Eventually, I reached my destination, 30 meters below ground. They prepared some sort of a space with a door. They can lock me inside, like a cage in a sense, underground. Getting inside there, the first sense is the stench. There is so much mold in the mattresses that are there, so much humidity, no air to filter it out, and the bathroom is very close to you. You look around and you see it's very, very short, it's very tight, and the ground is falling on you, and you feel in a sense that you are buried underground. It's very real. And the 2 hardest things that I need to endure, I remember, that was the silence and the darkness. Half of the day, sometimes even more, there is a complete darkness surrounding you. The darkness that you put the hand in front of your face and you just can't see anything, nor source of light anywhere. And the other thing was the silence. I remember that I was left by myself, sometimes for a month. And only they will come once in a day, will give me something to eat and go. And I remember they're sitting by myself day after day, complete silence, the silence that make the beeping sound in your ear. And I felt that I'm losing it, to be honest. There were days that I was screaming, but I was shouting myself because I couldn't do much noise. I was hitting myself in order to feel something. And eventually, after 8.5 months in the tunnel and 498 days in captivity in total, I got out.
Like you said, this is not something we can ever understand. Sapir, so you were released first. Can you tell us about that day and about meeting your family?
So I remember that after 55 days, one of the terrorists, he came to me and he said, it's 90% that you go back to your home today. But I didn't believe him because every day he said the same. After that, I saw another terrorist that he was very influenced one in Khan Yunis. I remember that he released a young girl that she was with me. She go back to her home 3 days before. So I knew that I go back. In that point, I was with 2 hostages. I remember that they came to say goodbye and they were crying. And I told them, why are you crying? So today I go back, tomorrow it will be you. But they told me But Sapir, what if not? What if there is something that's more important than us? They used to talk a lot about Gilad Shalit, about the soldier that used in the captivity for 5 years. And unfortunately, they came back just after 2 years in the last deal. But they came back alive. So I started my way to my home. And I remember that when I came inside to Israel, I saw many people around our car, and all of them came to hug the car, and they are old posters, and they screamed how much they waited for us all this time. I was very excited to see that. And then I came to the hospital, and I met my parents. I can't describe these feelings. I was so happy, but it was also very hard for me because then I discovered that Sasha is an hostage. I discovered what happened to his father. And for me, it was very complicated to come back to Israel because I felt that I was in one world and now I came to a different world and I feel different. And I need to know myself again. I don't feel the same person that I was before. I was very upset if my parents was complaining about food or about little things. And they told to my brother, Sapir came back crazy, but I wasn't crazy. I wanted to continue my mission in some ways. I wanted to feel necessary, like I felt in the captivity. And I thought to myself, what can I do now? I met his mother. She released the day before me, and then she discovered that her only child in the captivity, we didn't know what his situation, in which condition he is, if he's alive or not. And she discovered about her husband. She didn't know that he killed him that day. And I say to myself that there is a person that I can save. I decided to move to live with her in the same hotel to be like a family for her. And it wasn't easy. I remember that sometimes she came to me and she says, Sapir, I don't want to live anymore. It's too much for me. And I didn't know what to say, so I promised her grandchildren. At first it was twins, girls. But then after a few months, she came to me again and she said, Sapir, the twins is not enough. I don't want to live anymore and I want you to wait for Sasha. I trust you and just tell him that I loved him so much. So finally we have 6 kids, but one of them optional because I'm not so young. So this is what I did all this time when he was in the captivity, just promise more kids.
Promises.
Now she's waiting for the results.
Yeah, we're all waiting. So you're freed at this point, Sapir, and you're making Sasha and really all the hostages your mission. Once again, it's a mission. Sasha, you're still there. And you described before such darkness. I guess people wonder if maybe so long, so many days that you were there, did you ever experience a moment at all during the captivity of humanity? Something that maybe stood out to you in those moments, Sasha?
I remember first coming to captivity, looking around myself, and seeing the terrorists interacting between themselves. They weren't talking much to me, but they were talking between themselves, and they were laughing, bugging each other, you know, seems like normal human beings, like everybody else. And I told myself, obviously they are humans, they are not animals, but how can it be that a human being can do something so horrible to a fellow human being? And I just couldn't even start to have some sort of conversation, some sort of interaction before I will get an answer to that, because I couldn't even understand how to approach. It was so puzzling to me how this kind of person can just think. And I remember that I was lucky enough, Ashgacha Prati, to get a partial answer to that pretty early in the captivity. I remember that I was in this place after the hospital, an apartment, and the owner of the apartment knew a little bit of English. He is actually the one that I started learning Arabic from. And one day, after 2 weeks in the apartment or so, he decided to bring his little girl in. She was 3 years old, and when he brought her into the apartment, when she walks through the door and she sees me, she immediately goes and hides behind her father's leg. So he needed to approach me pretty closely in order for her to feel safe enough to get from her father's leg. And she came to me and hit me on my right leg and go and hide behind her father's leg again. And I was like a little bit surprised, to be honest, but I also didn't expect much. And he started talking to her in Arabic, and I asked him, like, what happened? Why she did that? And he told me, look, before we came here, I told her I have an Israeli, a Jew in my home, and she knows what to do when she sees an Israeli or a Jew. She knows that she needs to hit him. She knows they are bad people. And I told her that she did just fine. But in your specific case, like I told her that you are specifically okay, and she cannot hit you. And I told him, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But then he continued bringing her more and more times. And the more he brought her, the more connection she felt towards me. She started playing with me, staying around me without her father around. He would go and do some things in the apartment. She would stay with me. She felt comfortable. And eventually, around, I don't know, a month being in this apartment, we were sitting there on the floor. My mom was always there. And I'm sitting with her and her father and this little girl. And suddenly she stood up, approached me, and she comes and falls on me and gives me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And I was so surprised, and I tell you the truth, I didn't feel compassion for so long. I just craved for some compassion, some sort of love. And when she did that, I was also so surprised, because while I was in this place, her father was teaching me and her the same lessons. He will teach us messed up history lessons about Jews and about Israel. He will teach us and encourage her that Israelis are bad, the Jews are bad, that we deserve to be killed and persecuted. He gave her a flag of Islamic Jihad, a big flag. She was so young, so small, but he gave her like a huge flag to wave and, you know, enchant songs about jihadistic activities, about killing Jews and Israelis. And even though it was in the same place that I was at, and she knew who I was, because she was so young, she couldn't differentiate between what her father is telling her and between what she felt towards me as a person. And not long after I left this place, and I met so many other terrorists along the way. I was switching many groups and many hands. And I remember that in every single one of them, when I was starting this interaction and starting to a little bit know better who is in front of me, I saw that all of them has this little kid set of mind, this education. When they are being engaged with facts that contradict theirs, they are being closed down, they are not allowing themselves to open up to new ideas and to hear from me what is truthful. And I remember thinking about this little girl a lot along my journey and telling myself, well, as I don't remember much from 3 years old, she will not remember me as well. And she will grow up to be this jihadistic figure that the father nourishing her to be. And unfortunately, she will probably be as her father wants her. But this is the human interaction that I had, knowing that education and what we are experiencing from our home is so important during our lives.
So Sapir, while Sasha is going through all of this and you're fighting for him to be released, did you ever get any sign of life? Did you know that he was alive?
So I didn't know for sure that he's alive. But I remember that after 5 months maybe, the Islamic Jihad published a video of Sasha. So it was a day of celebration for us because we saw him and the army talked with us and say that he's alive for sure. I was very excited because in this video he also mentioned me. But a few months later, the Islamic Jihad published the second video, and in this video, Sasha didn't mention me. I talked with your mother about it, and she told me, no, he forgot to mention you, he have to say what they tell him to say, and I'm saying no. I knew in that moment that Sasha wanted to release me. I knew that he wanted that I will continue in my life and will find another partner. He knew that my biggest dream is to build my own family. And when he came back from the captivity, I asked him about it, and he told me this sentence. He said, Sapir, I didn't want you to wait for someone that will never come back. And he didn't believe that he will come back alive. This is the only 2 signs that I had.
Well, it's a miracle. Sasha, after spending so much time cut off from the world, with endless hours just to spend yourself reflecting, do you feel that this profound and life-altering experience changed you in any way?
Going through such a challenge, it's inevitable that it will change you as a person, and I think that in a sense, and don't get me wrong, and that's a horrible thing that happened to me, and if I could, I would have rewind the clock to October 6th, and I wished it would never happen. But something also came good out of it, of everything that happened. I remember getting to captivity. I didn't have the tools to deal with that at all. I felt that I'm so strong. I felt that I'm so resilient. I've been through challenges in my life, I told myself. I went through electrical engineering in the university. I went to the army. I've been through some things, so I know how to cope. But it wasn't the case, and it wasn't even close, because usually in my life what I did is to strategize and plan ahead. I used to believe that I am the only master of my destiny, and all I need to do is just make plans, strategize, and go according to plan. Everything will be fine. And when I was upset or sad, I remember just going to my friends, watching a movie, doing something of a material to evade this sadness, and it usually worked. But when you get to captivity, suddenly everything is stripped away from you. Everything material, everything that you used to have is taken away. I'm not talking only about clothes or food, everything like mobility, being able to go out, being able to watch the sky, to look up or look down, whatever you want. Everything is taken away, and in a sense, I was also by myself, so even communication was taken away from me, and I'm sitting there and I'm starting to lose hope. And I remember that around after a month, I just lost it. I said to myself, there is no way I'm coming back home. It's all bad. It's all depressing. I started shouting at the terrorists and didn't know what I want from them. I told them, just kill me and that's it. Just kill me. I don't want to be here anymore. And I remember finding myself and grasping myself together and telling myself, there is no way you're going to survive that with this attitude. It's not going to work. And I calmed myself down, and I did something that I'd never done before, and just sit down and reflect about good things, about the people that I care. I started to wish them good thinking. I tried to wish them health and resilience and strength and many, many good things. And just doing that from the deepest parts of my soul, I felt that suddenly my approach changed. I felt much more positive, much more strength and resilience, and I told myself, well, it's strange. And I was very critical about myself, and I told, you never believed in God before. I came from a very secular community, so I never was taught or raised upon these traditions and the belief in God as a kid or as an adult. And suddenly when I'm there, I felt so much strength from within and connection to something higher than myself. And I told it, said, well, it's fine that you are judging yourself, but you saw it works, so try and do it even more times. And the more it progressed and the challenges became harder and harder, as I told you, I started doing it more and more and systematically. And I noticed that it's giving me so much strength, and it helped me so much through hardships. And I started to look at things in a much more positive way. So I started to think and reflect why I feel this way, why it's inherited in me, this belief. Why do people believe in something greater than themselves? What is that is inside of us that makes us stronger? What is strength and all? And I look at all the things that I cannot see while I was in captivity. I was bounded between four walls or in the tunnel, and I imagined all the beauty outside. I imagined all the God creation. And I told myself, so much beauty is existing in this world, and every single day in my life I was exposed to that, and I didn't appreciate it at all. And I told myself, you came from a background of science and math. You know that most of the things we are trying to formulate in those areas are laws of nature. And those laws of nature and everything that surrounds us is so systematically, beautifully built. And I never appreciate the way I should, but when I started to think and reflect about it more and more in captivity, my faith grew, and with that grew my strength and resilience, to a point that everything that was happening to me, I look at it in a positive way, and this was the case. You need to understand that the fact that I was released a year ago and not in the last deal was because I got shot in my legs in October 7. It would have happened without it. The fact that I was alone, isolated from everybody else and not with other hostages, enabled me to learn Arabic faster and to start communicating with my captors. I was held by Islamic Jihad and not Hamas, so if I wouldn't do this, I would have been killed like other hostage. I would not say his name, but he was very close to me geographically. I've been through a very, very hard situation, and every single time when I tell myself there is a positive side of it, it turned out to be true. And now I'm alive, and not because of, me, because of me being able to look at things positively and believe that this is going to somewhere good, and thank God it was. But I remember that when I was in captivity, I said, even my death is acceptable. I accepted it, but I told God, please give me a chance to go out and experience life the way I should have for the last 27 years when I wasn't so appreciative. And when I came out, I decided to try and keep this mindset.
Amazing.
Sapir, you talked a little bit about your relationship, but how did the whole experience of captivity, how did it affect your relationship with Sasha, with each other?
Okay, so I remember the way to the kibbutz on October 6th. We sat on the bus, and I was crying all this way. And I just moved my head because I didn't want that Sasha will see that. I decided that I have to finish this relationship. And I was very sad about it. I felt that Sasha, he didn't appreciate nothing in his life. All the time he said how much he has a bad luck. Every little thing that happened to him, he was so upset about everything. And I say to myself, like, I can't be with someone like him. I remember that we moved to live together 2 months before the captivity. We just wanted to check if it's possible. And I told him that I keep kosher. So he told me, okay, I can accept it, but just not come to me one day and say, for example, that you want to keep Shabbat. It's too much. On October 7, I decided to keep Shabbat. And, you know, from the moment that I came back from the captivity, I felt very connected to Sasha. I never felt like that before. I spoke about him everywhere. I prayed about him every day. And I felt that sometimes I ask myself if I supposed to, you know, to pray for him, but to find for myself like another partner, someone that I can live my life with him. But I couldn't. I felt that something like caused me to wait for him, and I can't imagine myself with someone else. All this time I say to God, why you did it for me? Like, why you did it to me? Why you make me to wait for someone that even not believe in you? And I remember that his mother, she was completely secular and she became religious in the time that he was in the captivity. So she asked me how she's supposed to tell it to Sasha, because he will say it to Sasha, he will run away to Gaza. When Sasha came back from the captivity, she told him that, and he said, Mom, I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited to hear that you do the right thing because God exists. I know that. Wow. And then I said, and I keep Shabbat. I was very proud about it. I remember that on the helicopter, I asked him what the first thing that you want to do now. And he told me, Sapir, I just want to go to a nice place and I want to sit under the stars. This is not Sasha. He's not romantic and he doesn't like to sit under the stars. And finally, he appreciates everything and he appreciates his family. And what I want to say is that I'm happy that I waited for you all this time. And Be'ezrat Hashem, on March, soon, very soon, on a month, we will stand under the chuppah. Wow.
Mazal tov.
Listening to you guys, and through all this, the deep changes and the deep reflections, Sasha, that you described, and tremendous growth. I have one more question for you, Sasha. You know, you're out now for about a year, almost a year, and the war is sort of, there's a new chapter. Beginning specifically in your life, a new world. And what how do you expect or how do you want this new chapter to look as you look towards the future now?
We are standing in front of a very unique and interesting next chapter. As I wished it would be just happily ever after, but we all know it's not the truth. We finished one war. We are in front of maybe another one. And of course, I'm talking because I really sympathize with you all, with the anti-Semitism that is growing, especially in Europe and America. It's so hard on the Jewish communities there, and I know it because we've been here so much. When I look back on the things that I didn't know is happening when I was in captivity, but when I came out, I was exposed to, and I learned that the beauty of what happened. 2.5 years almost that people prayed about people they never met before. They just did it from the bottom of their heart, real connection, real care, something that was unique, that strengthened us all as a community, that made us more united, and a little bit, made the gap of the differences that we had before. And unfortunately, as we move forward, I feel that we are forgetting, and I always say that history is such a strong lesson. Usually what you need to learn about the future, you can find in history. And we need to remember what happened in those 2.5 years. We need to try and keep it together as much as we can. We got so much love as, hostages that came out, and a lot of that to do with you people, the people that put us in, holiday tables, in synagogues, in their hearts, and shishi lighting candles in their, shishi table. It's something that was so special, and I wish that it could be the same way to other people you encounter throughout your life. I'm not saying maybe in the same intensity because it's very hard to do and replicate, but at least when you see somebody who is in distress, and I'm talking, unfortunately, I need to try and sum it up, so I'm saying more about the Jewish community. We need to help each other throughout challenges, and we need to strengthen our faith from within, not from outside. We shouldn't care much about what other people think. We will never be able to make everybody like us. What can we do? We are successful. We stand up with challenges. It's irritating people. But we need to strengthen ourselves as individually and as a community and help each other go through the challenges that everybody has. And I think that my message for tonight is remember what happened in the 2.5 years, how you felt in your heart towards us, and try to feel the same way as much as you can towards a fellow Jew you meet along the way.
Yeah, wow.
And Sapir, one last question for you. After your entire journey, what message do you want to share with the Jewish people?
I remember that one day, one of the terrorists called me to watch TV. And when I watched TV, I saw the kidnap square in Tel Aviv. And I saw all our people together with many posters, and they want just one thing. They want to bring us back. I was very excited to see that. And I felt very proud in my nation, and I didn't feel connected to my nation before. But what surprised me even more is that these terrorists say, when all the Jewish together like this, they are very, very strong. And this is a terrorist word. And I believe that this is the main goal of this war, to make all the Jewish people together.
Wow. Thank you.
So a big thank you to our interviewers, and of course a thank you to Sasha and Sapir. on an absolutely heartwarming conversation. This is really so incredibly special. What a privilege this is for all of us. I said to you as you were walking in, as we walked in together, that the fact that you're traveling around this country and around the world and talking to so many thousands of people that are being inspired by you, what a mitzvah this is, what a beautiful blessing you are bringing to all of us and to the entire community. So thank you very much. As mentioned before, we're going to have a few questions. There were many questions that came in, and actually, interestingly, most of the questions that came in, you actually answered them as you spoke. So you're sort of interacting with everyone here in a very meaningful way. But just 2 or 3 questions that came in. First of all, Sasha, you grew up, you know, your kibbutz is right near the Gaza envelope, living in such close proximity for so many years to the terrorists. Then you experienced October 7th. And what are your thoughts of the possibilities for the future of some sort of coexistence with this population that has displayed so much hate towards us?
So I think I mentioned it through the talk that it's a lot due to education and the culture that since they're infants, raising them towards hate and resentment towards Israelis and Jews. I have countless of stories about terrorists telling me all these things that they learned in school, the things they learned about the Israelis, the things that they raised upon from their grandfathers, telling them that they were ripped off from their richest. They had so many land and agriculture, and they had so much good life in Israel, and everything was taken away from them by the Jews who came and conquered it. And when you are raised upon those kind of values and understanding of the world, it's very hard to change your observation when you are older. It's almost impossible. And I met the son of Hamas, the Great Prince. I don't know if you know about him. I had a dialogue with him about it. He's a very thoughtful person, very similar to them, to be honest. He was raised the same way, but he's just expressing it towards them now. And I asked him, like, what do you think we can do? And he said, unfortunately, we cannot do anything as long as this is the education they are getting and this is the culture, and I agree with him. So I don't see any way to peace. As much as everybody wished for peace, we need to look at history and understand that throughout history, there was a clash of civilization, in a sense, different ways of observing the world, and when they were too different, they were clashing, and somebody would have won, and this is the way it progressed. And unfortunately, I think it's, although we try to be modern, this is the same thing, and I don't see how we can resolve it just by trying to stick a label of peace on somebody who doesn't want to do it.
Thank you. A question here from Michael, and again, thank you to all who sent in questions. One of the unique aspects of your story is that obviously you're both going through a very important healing process, physical, emotional, and you're also engaged and getting married, and you have this beautiful relationship that you spoke about. Perhaps you can talk a bit about the connection between healing and love, how they interplay with each other. And maybe this is for Sapir.
Difficult question.
Thank you, Michael.
Healing and love. Okay, to be honest, I felt that I can't start my healing process as long as in the captivity. And I started it just from the moment that he came back. I felt, it was my biggest dream to build a family. And all this time, when I was out of the captivity, I did many things, and I fly to many countries, and I spoke in front of many people, and they told me that I changed their life in some ways, and I was very happy about it, but I felt that I can't be really happy without a family, without my own family. I felt that it's not matter how much I will inspire people or how much money I will get, or no matter what. There is nothing in the world that compares to family. And from the moment that Sasha came back, I felt that he really changed and we can really be together, I felt happiness from the first time, maybe from the first time in my life. I know that sometimes it's we have a hard time. We are completely different people. We don't understand each other. Every day maybe we have a situation. And every time I remind it to myself that I can't be happy without him. So even that sometimes I need to suffer him, he gave me the happiness. He gave a lot of happiness to my life.
So I think on that beautiful note, we will just close out the program with something very special. We're going to have very quick on the screen an important message. Sasha and Sapir talked about the impact of the greater Jewish world and how they felt and feel supported. We have a brief message from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the inspiration of all the Chabad centers around the world. And then we have a beautiful gift to be presented from all of us to Sasha and Sapir for their new life together. So your attention to the screens, and then we will conclude the program.
Als nicht guckendig, was sie gewähnt sein an Hoge Bisa der Rege. Als al Koponim sein me male Histe, den ewigsten Tachnuni, und gebe Chukesai, und hiet auf mit zweisete Schmere, was hieße Meiser, und das ist der einzige Weg, als von Asati geschmechen Beito, wenn Asati schol im Bohret, und schaffte wehem Machri. Das Fall, was der Tiefel allein im Mosowa Facher, wie bald als sie sehen, ki Shem Hashem Nikro Lecho. Teilt was der Bejorum in der kam, wie der Hetzogor Niton Lecha Tchile, schäppe mit ihnen. Adrabe, me helft da Reisiden wie der Mond frie. Der Ewigste hat umgesorgt, als kommt ruhig schlafen, wehem Machri, waren keiner, wird euch nicht erschrecken, das Fall, was Godel Horeie, Shemer es Akivso, von der Shivim Zevim, Vecherev Lisave Beatzeche.
So we're now going to conclude with something very special. We all know that these past 2 years have been especially challenging for the young people in our community. It's so wonderful to have all of you here, but especially the young people, the teenagers, the college students, the young adults. As the world has lost its moral compass, it's been especially challenging for them. Your words and your story mean so much to all of us, but to them, it means the world. And so we'd like to invite to the stage a member of CTEEN, if Eric Rosinski, are you here? Is Eric still here, or did he step away? Rabbi Mendel, please nominate someone from CTEEN to come up, please. And Ella, please join us, Ella. And we'd like to invite a young adult, a young Jewish adult, to come up. Is Gabe here? Gabe Malka, representing the young Jewish adults? Yes, Gabe? Please come up. Ella, come join us. And then finally, we invite the directors of Chabad at Sisan, Rabbi Chaim Brook, Rabbi Mendy and Sandra Paul, to share a gift and some special appreciation from the youth in our community. And with that, we will conclude. And of course, accompanying Sandra is one of the students from Sisan.
Wow. Thank you so much. I don't know where to put myself. I'm speaking on behalf of our three pillars here, but your courage, your bravery, your Jewish pride is bar none so inspiring. And we have a teen, a college student, a young professional, and on behalf of all of us and our communities, we would like to present to you a very beautiful, hold the mic for me, mezuzah with your 5.5, 6 kids, your very demanding mother-in-law, and we just want to wish you just a life full of only health, smachot, brachot, and we just count, like, when's the wedding day? We want to just all come and dance with you. So, L'chaim, thank you so much. We love you guys.